So this is a good example of how I typically set up my class. So what we found is that students respond better, at least in our experience, to chunked assignments, very small. They can complete it, feel like they succeeded, and move on to the next thing. It also lets us make it more granular. For example, we deliver instruction mostly through videos, also occasionally through an article they read and answer questions. And what we found through kind of trial and error over the last several years is that something like an ed puzzle works really well to improve student engagement, because they have questions they have to answer while they watch the video. What we found is we were just giving them video and giving them notes or something. They were kind of skipping around and not necessarily watching the whole video. The ed puzzles seem to make them slow down and pay attention. So we include all of the most important information in the form of an ed puzzle. And that also allows us, if a student is really falling behind, to make it more granular. Like, okay, right now you just focus on ed puzzles and quizzes, because we have daily quizzes. So they get the most important grades with the most important information, and they can go back and catch up on other work later. So that's another advantage to having small chunked assignments. But here is a typical day. This day would be on the regions of Virginia. So the first thing we did was to have a quiz on the previous day. One of the things that we try to do is have a short, low-stakes daily quiz, which uses Google Forms, and it allows them to do corrections if they need to. Google Forms has a feature called feedback, which will allow you to give them 3 new questions with a video or article. It allows for targeted remediation. But then after they've done that, here's an example of attempting student-to-student interaction. They watch a video about how erosion, which was the topic from the day before, is having an apartment building fall into off a cliff. And then the question is, should the government be allowed to force people out of their homes? A news story about how certain people didn't want to leave even though the government said your building's unsafe, you gotta go. So they can take a side and then provide a counter argument to someone on the other side. So they get some interaction, and you can interact when it's time, because like if you answer the question now and then someone else answers it later, you can go back. Here's the ed puzzle on regions of Virginia. And then we talked about how you don't want kids to just kind of rush through it, so there's always a sort periodically, and they have to stop and they have to drag the pieces where they go. So here's an example, and like they highlight and they put it where they go, and then it says check with a teacher. So before they can move on, they have to check with a teacher, and the sort allows you to immediately see whether they have the concepts. It's pretty difficult to fake a sort, so if they don't get it, you can reteach and have them go back and look at it again. If they do get it, you know they're safe to go on. That also prevents students from just rushing through the curriculum because it's self-paced. There are some other things we can do too. This has a little game that's an online game, and they can play, take a screenshot when they get 100%. There's Quizlet. And then we usually close with an exit ticket, which has a couple of important questions that kind of summarize the unit, another formative assessment for us to check. So the kids come in, they have control over their own kind of when they can do it, how long they can do it. They even have a little bit of control over path, because we usually tell them they can do whatever order they want. Some kids prefer to do all the ed puzzles first and then go back and do the supporting activities. Some kids prefer to do it in the order it's assigned. I even have a few kids that like to do things backwards. Generally, it doesn't really matter. So they control how fast they go. They control where they do it, because it's all online, so they can do it anywhere. And they do have some minimal control over path. To some extent, having standardized tests means you can't give them a lot of control over it, but they get a little bit. And of course, they have control over where they do it. And so that's kind of how we set up the class for a science class.